Hi everyone, this is Skylar Burt from WeTogether.com bringing another Photoshop tutorial. This time we're going to be talking about sharpening your images for the web and for print. Now this is a really important tutorial for you food photographers out there because oftentimes you're mostly displaying your images on your blogs or websites and you really want to get them as sharp as possible. If you just upload your standard JPEG without any sharpening techniques, because you have to downsize the file, you'll lose a lot of detail in the image, and the image will result, on the web kind of fuzzy and out of focus and lack of contrast. So we're going to employ some Photoshop techniques here to get those images looking as sharp as possible when you display them on your blog or your website. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be noting the size of my image, because this technique is dependent on the size of the resolution and the pixel size of your image that you have. Now this one is straight out of the camera, so it's going to be a great image for printing. The process will be the same, but I just want to check the size and make sure that it is in fact, it is in fact a printing image. It's 240 pixels per inch and it's about 5,000 pixels high, so that's great for printing, and so I'll get started on my technique here. Now the traditional way that we used to sharpen is just by going to filter, sharpen, and using something like the unsharp mask. But the unsharp mask really kind of adds some artifacts to your image. It really cranks up those highlights only, and in the process really degrades the image quality. So we're going to be using something else which is called a high pass filter, and it's found in the filters other high pass filter. And this filter is really great because it increases the contrast between the shadows and the highlights, making a much clearer image. And so to do this, we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to go to filter and choose other and put the high pass filter on this new layer. Now this will gray out our image, and we'll see we have a radius slider here to increase the radius that this filter will be applied on. And as I move the radius to the right, you can see the image starts to show through the gray. Now the goal for us using this filter is really just to get the image just peeking through the gray. So I'll zoom in here so you can see what I mean. And for print, I'm going to probably be using something like maybe 1.4, not a lot. We're not going to really crank this slider over to the left. We're just going to be using just a little bit, just so the image starts to peek through the gray and I can see just the outline of the image, and I know that's just about right. So for printing, like I said again, a radius of 1.4 would be good for a large image size. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to change the blending mode of this layer to something like overlay. That way I can see the image through the gray here. Now I can see it. And if I turn the layer on and off, it's a lot sharper than it was previously. It was already a really sharp image straight out of the camera, but adding this high pass filter really just cranks up that contrast between the shadows and highlights in a really nice and even kind of way. The next step I would do would maybe be adding a layer mask to this, and I can brush out the sharpness in areas that I don't want it to be, because the filter just applies this sharpness globally throughout the image, but maybe I just want the sharpness really to be affected on, like, say, the top of these beautiful cupcakes that I have here. So I'll grab my brush tool, B on the keyboard, or just go over to the brush, and I'm going to be painting with black or white for the mask at about 100% opacity, and I'll just make some sweeping brush strokes where I don't want the mask to be, like maybe on the bottom of the cupcakes, on the plate, in the foreground, and in the background. I'll just clear it out of there. That way I only have the sharpness directly on the top of my cupcakes. Now this is really cool because you can selectively place sharpness in your image how you want it to be. So that's a really great tip. Now for print, this would be like the final step. I would just maybe flatten the layers and then press Command P or Control P if you're using a PC, and print however I would like. But if I'm going to save it for the web, it'll be a little bit different, and I'll just delete this layer here, and we'll start again with the raw image. And the first step I would be doing is to size my images for the web, Because remember I said this filter is dependent on the size of the image. So first we want to size the image for the web. And I'll just give it something like 72 ppi at maybe 1200 pixels high. And that's, you know, your typical size that I use for the web, at least for my blog or website. I'm just going to click OK. And our image will be much smaller, but I'll zoom in so we can see again what we're doing here with the filter. And I'm just going to go through the same process again. Press Command J to get a new layer, go up to the filter, other, and choose high pass filter. But now we can see that the image is really showing through the gray. And remember I just said we really want the image just to be peeking through the gray. So I'm going to move this slider down and use a lot less of it, maybe by half, maybe around 0.5 or 0.6, just so the image just starts to peek through the gray like we had before. I'll click OK, and again I'll change the layer blending mode to overlay. Oops. There we go, to overlay, and we can see the image again. I can turn the layer on and off, and you can see the effect that this high pass filter has on the sharpness of the image. It really is a lot more clear than it was before. And this will look great on the web. And the final step to saving it for the web is to go File, Save for Web. I'm not going to choose Save As and just make it a JPEG because, I mean, although you could do that, it's going to make the file size maybe around 1 to 2 megabytes. And really for the web, we want our file size to be as small as possible. That way the loading time is a lot less for our viewers. You know, you don't want your viewers to come and wait for the image to load, get bored, and then leave your site before it even loads. So we're going to get those file sizes down as low as possible. I'm going to choose Save for Web. This is going to flatten my image. It's also going to convert my image to sRGB, which is what the web displays in. And we can see here in the bottom left-hand corner, we can see the image size or the file size of our photo here, and it's about 484K, and that's a lot smaller, and it's going to load really quickly on the web. If I wanted to get it even smaller, like say I was restricted to a file size, like if I was submitting my images for a contest or something, some type of site where they restrict your file size, you can control the quality slider here, and as you move it down, you can see the file size change over here, and so it gives you indication of what the output size will be. But for me, I'm just going to keep it at 100% because 484K is not really a big memory footprint for my blog or website, and it loads perfectly fast. Also, what's great about the Save for Web is we're not going to lose any quality when we're saving it like this way. I'm going to choose JPEG as the standard and press Save, do nothing else, and save it to desktop, and well, bam, we're finished. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment box. Again, this is Skylar Burt for WeTogether.com, signing off.